Ready? Okay.
Shaz.
No, I'm just waiting for him to.
Okay, waiting for you to get ready.
Okay. First of all, I mean, did you actually ever expect that Obama would close Guantanamo? I mean, I assume you weren't taking his pledge seriously.
No, we did expect him to really close it because he made it as a pledge, and he campaigned on that issue, and he spoke openly, categorically, and he used to say, repeat, I say that we will close Guantanamo within. And we did have really hopes that Obama would really close Guantanamo. There was expectations. I know you could say that we're naive to think that, because the American politician, I used to make promises and go back on them. But he did campaign on a different platform, and he came saying that he worked. His background is like from a background where you think he'll understand these issues. He worked as a lawyer himself, human rights lawyer, and he campaigned throughout his life for blacks' rights movements in the US. And what surrounded Obama, the news and the information that surrounded his campaign. I read his book, and I thought he seemed sincere to change things, wanted to change things. And we had, as naive as it might be, we had hopes that he would be able to do what he promised, especially that he repeated these promises, and he did repeat them again and again. And I think I cannot imagine how a politician in his status, as president, can make such statements in all openness and strongly, and then just go back on them as easily as he has done. So it's a big shame, I think. Big shame on any politician, even on somebody who runs the United States.
Some of the others were talking about a sense of guilt, that they are out and there's others still inside. Do you share that feeling?
Yeah, of course. I mean, the main reason that drives us to come to these conferences and talk to press and to be open to media. Sometimes you get all sorts of accusations and criticisms, and people who just talk. We put ourselves to all this because we think there is a burden on us. There is a duty on us, if you like, that we have to do that, because there are still people who were with us, comrades, people who are inmates, friends of ours, people who we lived with, and we promised that when we go out, had expectation that we would be able to speak about them, especially us in the United Kingdom, because many who are released to Saudi Arabia, Yemen, others are gagged, imprisoned, sometimes silenced by force, and they cannot speak like we can to the media. And for myself, for example, I kept silence for a whole year. I couldn't say anything for 1 year because of the whole condition I was in, the psychological problems I had to solve lots of family problems, my own son, searching for him in Afghanistan and so on. I had lots of problems. There was an ongoing legal battle, extradition to Spain and so on. So it was very difficult for me to say anything, even to meet with the media. I wasn't capable of speaking up. And it took me more than 1 year until the guilt has just grown inside within that year, because I felt like I betrayed all those who had all these expectations, and I promised when I would leave, because they know my background. I'm a lawyer, human rights lawyer, and on top of that I speak English. On top of that I'm in the UK, and people when they heard the announcement in Guantanamo that I was going to be released, people were celebrating like as if they were going to be released, and it's a shame to realize that, and then finding myself not able to speak as I wished I would, for many reasons because of it. So yes, definitely, going back to the question is whether the feeling of guilt is mostly important. It drives us very strongly to come out to the media and talk. As you see, all the detainees, former prisoners, I spoke to all of them that they should come today And it's very difficult to come to speak to the media. People even would say, yes, we will come, but at the day when eventually they need to come to the media, it's always a difficult thing. It's not an easy thing.
I think they want to move on quickly.
Can I just ask one question?
Yeah.
Do you sort of hold out
Last
hope
question.
that Shaka Omar is
Yes.
going to return to Britain kind of in the near future? Is Britain doing enough, the government?
I think they can do more if they wanted to. But Shakir Amr, the other thing about Shakir Amr is that he hasn't committed any crimes. He is just similar to all of us who they said many things rumored about, and there's no evidence against him. He's been 11 years, never convicted of anything. And the UK government and the US government, I think, do not want him to be released because of his outspokenness, his memory. He was involved in many negotiations inside prison with the generals, and he knew many details of what went on, the deaths that went on. He was a witness to many things, and I think they tried to get him released, but going back to Saudi Arabia, where they had control over him, where they can silence him like what they did to other people, like Slayim and others, Jamaat Dosar. But they offered him. It was like the Mukhabarat, the Saudi intelligence went inside the camps, and they usually are not allowed to. Anyone is not allowed to resort inside the camp, but they allowed them to go into the cell with Shakir and talk to him on a kind of friendly basis to convince him to go back to Saudi Arabia. And if he was to agree to that, they would release him. And what that shows is that the intention is that they want him to be released, but not to the where he can speak freely, where he can speak about what went on and so on. So I think there can be more done campaigning for Shakir, and the UK government can do more for his family and children who are all British citizens. So, yeah.
One more question. We know that you were tortured.
Yes.
Would you be able to give us a bit of detail about the way that torture took place and the effects, mental and physical, that they had, the lasting effects are with you till today?
The lasting effects, definitely, the treatment, the mistreatment in Guantanamo will last with you, I think, forever. It's a grave wound, probably will stay in the heart and the psyche of the person. But the torture, you say, I mean, everyone in Guantanamo, it's not only me, but everyone, the system in Guantanamo is engineered in a way, you could say, it's not a prison. I think some people describe it rightly so, as like, this is an international torture facility. An offshore international torture facility. Why offshore? Where there are no laws apply. And the torture that went on in Guantanamo, it's been spoken about by the FBI members who wrote books, people who were there interrogating people, like Sergeant Saab wrote a book about it. For example, James E., Captain James E., who was the chaplain inside Guantanamo, wrote a book about what went on and how it's wrong and how it is torture. Former guards like Brandon Neal spoke openly. I was with him in an interview about what they did and how he and others, guards like him, several of them.
Can you tell us what happened to your eye? Yeah, I know you've told us. I mean, but
yeah, it's most interesting to most people is this story. But I mean, what happened is that they tried to gouge my eyes, and they took us out from a cell. It's a long story where they wanted to search, and then there was sexual abuse. We refused, and when we refused, they went in and they pulled me out of the cell and then put me down to the floor, chained. And the officer and the guard came. They were holding my head back and then holding me down. And then he pushed his fingers both into my eyes, trying to gouge them. I didn't understand what he was doing at the time, because it's not a usual thing. They don't do it all the time. So I had my eyes clearly open until I felt the pain of his fingers getting holes inside the eyes. And he was pushing harder. So I closed my eyes, but it was too late, where his fingers were already inside. And the officer kept saying to him, more, more. And the guard was screaming, like saying, because he was, I think, frightened himself, saying, I am. I think they wanted to make an example of us. We were in an Oscar block where they thought we were rebellious because they did that to me and then went to the next cell, the next cell. They did it for all of them. It was one night they did that. After that incident, I had pains in both of my eyes and then liquid coming out from both of the eyes. They couldn't see from both of them for 3 days. I was like sleeping and then eating and then just sleeping, praying and things like that in the cell. And then after that, slowly, gradually, I gained sight in one of them. The other one went just worse. I didn't realize what happened until I saw, for the first time, when I was moved to Camp 5, which is another isolation block, built 2004. By the way, built by Dick Cheney for 30 million. It's Halliburton built it. So when I was moved to this Camp 5, there was something like a mirror where you can see your face. I was shocked to see how the eye deteriorated to an extent where it looked. So this is what happened about the eye. But this is an incident, as I say, it didn't happen only to me. It went on to the next cell. Several people lost their eyes, like El-Hajj from Pakistan. There's another Algerian guy. And there's others and others. But the story is well known in my case because I am in the UK and I am able to talk about it, unlike others who haven't got the chance to talk about it.
I think we've been told. We're out of time, sorry.
Yeah, and then all the film that came out now,
Yeah,
I think it makes it even an issue because look at the timing of the film where they say, even the timing of the film is so sad and they're trying to say that the torture that went on in Guantanamo in the film has succeeded into leading to Osama bin Laden, which isn't the case. People who are familiar with the chronology of events will tell you, clearly that it had nothing to do with that. It had to do with other things like, the setup of, there was a guy called, what's his name? He is Afridi, his name is Shakil Afridi. He was a doctor who was in prison for 30 years in Pakistan, who set up a kind of vaccination which led to the DNA of Osama bin Laden's kill. That's one thing. And the other thing is like,